as we started off, okay, from 2008 to 2020, there was a significant period where no major investments were happening and the sector was reeling under pressure. Various different opportunities coming up in terms of, say, battery technology, investment in data centers, which will all result in more investments into the power continuing. So the entire capital goods domain should continue to trade expensive. Capital goods is one of the sectors which is showing strong double-digit growth. Currently, we see capital goods, metals, utilities doing extremely well because it is highly regulated and there is always a risk of government intervening and reducing their overall profitability through windfall tax. So that is the reason that despite of crude remaining elevated at $100 plus, oil and gas sector is not doing that great. I'm associated with Mirae for past close to 13 years, and all throughout I've been associated in some or the other form across the infrastructure sectors. So last year only, as in 2025, we launched the infrastructure infrastructure fund. Some people might think that it's slightly late to launch the fund because the theme has been doing well since last 4 years. But I will not say that we are too late because whenever infrastructure spending starts happening in the economy, it takes decades for that spending to actually happen. So opportunities still continue. It's not that the stocks will run up in 1 year, 2 years, and then it'll flatten out. Though during the period since the time Trump came to power, that is in 2024, end of 2024, since that time to start of or till mid-November, the markets were kind of weak, and then post that we've seen start of this year there is war, so because of which the overall market sentiments have been quite weak. But starting this year, we have actually seen sectors which are seeing resilience in terms of where the spending is happening, where there is growth. The street is continuing to reward such sectors, and infrastructure and the subsectors of infrastructure is actually benefiting from it. So I'm just skipping few slides. What does infrastructure actually cover? Just to give you some perspective. So it's a very broad theme. It's not narrowed down. When we talk about infra, it's not narrowed down to the EPC names like the road construction players, but it's a very broad theme which covers capital goods, data centers, your power generation, transmission equipments, defense, EMS. There are certain sectors like your data centers and EMS, which historically was not there as part of the, as in, I would not say as part of the theme. These opportunities never existed. These are newer opportunities which are again more multi-year, and hence we should continue to see investment happening in these spaces and providing us opportunities to invest. Just what is why is infrastructure necessary for all of us? The key reason is because we need to improve the efficiencies. When we always compare our country to other countries, and why is it necessary? Because we need faster transportation, we need our rail connectivity to improve, rail speeds to improve, and hence so far whatever investments has gone into, we have reached a certain level, but still there is a long way to go wherein we can further improve our rail efficiencies. With DFC getting connected, the final leg of JNPT getting connected, we can see our rail speeds further improving beyond 45 kilometers per hour, because DFC, the freight trains can actually run during the on the DFC network in excess of 100 kilometers per hour. So all these investments are required for the economy to grow when we are targeting that we should become a 5 trillion economy. We are currently 5 trillion economy to move to a 10 trillion economy and a 30 trillion economy. Where are some of the major investments happening and where does India stand compared to globally? So some of the major investments over wherein we think India is investing is, say, highways and airports, wherein the number of airports has already increased substantially to about so this is slightly dated. We would be closer to 176 to 180 airports right now, from say 74 in 2014. We still have very few international level airports available, which we are developing. Within renewables also, our capacity is at the very low end, but we are significantly investing into our RE capacities, that is your solar and wind. Likewise, in data centers, we just have less than a percentage share of data centers compared to our global capacity. So global capacity is currently say 54 gigawatt. It is slightly higher than, again, this data is slightly dated, slightly higher than 54 gigawatt. Significant share is by US. US is doubling its data center capacity. Likewise, India is increasing almost 5 to 6x its data center capacity. Our current capacity is about 1250 megawatt. Why we are positive on infrastructure as a theme is also because of the certain government policy initiatives. So, just to give you context, I'll come back to this slide. Just to give you context, so we all know, as we started off, okay, from 2008 to 2020, there was a significant period where no major investments were happening and the sector was reeling under pressure. There were multiple reasons behind it, because 2008 was the period of GCF, Global Financial Crisis, GFC, which actually resulted, and there was also a period from 2008 to 14, there was also a period of complete policy paralysis because of the various scams which were unfolded, and hence decision making was not happening, and hence investments were not happening. Post 2014, we started seeing investments, but various other reasons like your demonetization and certain policy implementation derailed the actual implementation and capex happening. Post 2020 is where we started seeing the investment, and that's why you can see there is an uptick in the overall investment. But so far, we have only seen the public investment increasing. Private investment has not happened in a material way, but incrementally, whatever investments happen will be largely funded through public, because which are the themes where where government is actually quite gung-ho, where we are seeing investments. Some of them, so your power is the space where we are seeing significant investments both on the generation as well as transmission front. So because our overall, if we have to become a manufacturing economy, and in fact, till 2012 was when the major power capacity, thermal capacities came on stream, was commissioned. Post 2012, we haven't seen major capacities coming on stream or getting commissioned. In fact, many of the capacities went into NCLT, and your power demand keeps on growing at 5-6% CAGR. So we reached a point where in 2020, where suddenly the power demand surged to 8%, we realized there would be a situation where we may not have power supply and there could be power outages, and that is where the demand for power investment increased. Plus, when we see adoption of data centers, that is also power guzzler. Manufacturing will also require huge investment in the power. So we are seeing this power investment to continue for the next decade. Where the investments will happen, both on the generation as well as transmission front, because both go hand in hand. Transmission capacity expansion would be slightly ahead of the generation, because there are multiple different form of generation capacities which are coming in. One is in the form of solar, second is in the form of thermal. When we talk about solar, solar or renewable energy results in grid instabilities, and hence this is where you need to invest more into the transmission capacities to stabilize in terms of various advanced systems like your SCADA systems and other things, which helps to stabilize the grid. Plus, there will be an investment required into the battery storage. Second, associated with this is we are also trying to push EV. Plus, with the recent war, US-Iran war, that we have seen that our country is highly dependent on crude oil plus gas, and we need to move away from the dependence that we have internationally on crude as well as gas. For that, we need to move away or move in favor of the EVs. So when we are pushing for electric vehicles, we need to invest in the electrification of the charging infrastructure. Plus, we will need to invest in the battery technologies. So we are seeing a lot of battery facilities also coming or getting invested in, and will maybe get commissioned over next 1.5 years. So these are the opportunities and investments that we are talking about, which are more multi-decade and multi-year stories. Sorry, it's coming back, right? Huh. And why we think that that's happening? How is government supporting these? So when I said that public investment will increase, so, yeah, that is your private investment will increase post the government. So when, as we see today, government capex target was in excess of 11 lakh crore, closer to 12 trillion. With the crude prices where they are, there is a risk on the fiscal deficit. There may be chances where the government may not invest what they have committed for the current year because of to manage the fiscal deficit. So still we are seeing spends happening because most of these spends are actually coming in from the private sector or the companies or the corporates. When I say power, it is either say NTPC, which is a government owned entity, but they're using their own balance sheet to invest. Likewise, Power Grid is using their own balance sheet to invest. The other companies like Adani's are also using their own balance sheet to invest. So what we need from the government is more in terms of policy support. Again, historically, your say on the solar front, people often question as to when we are getting the cells cheaper, why to not import and set up our own facilities? Because from a cost comparison perspective, India cannot compete China in terms of the cost that they are offering. But that is also because China has so much of capacities that they're actually selling it below cost, plus they're getting a lot of government incentives, because of which they can still survive at the cost that they sell. India cannot compete because we do not have those kind of incentives. But what government is giving us is policy support in terms of say ALMM, which is approved list of module manufacturers. They started off with modules, getting into cells, implementing from June 26, which will further be backward integrated to wafers and ingots, which means that going forward, the entire process, right from wafers or polysilicon to the final module, will be done in India, and incrementally whatever new solar capacities come in our country will have to use domestically manufactured modules and cells, which means we are giving support to our domestic guys irrespective of their pricing. So, and that will result in private companies coming up and setting up capacities over here. This is only for the solar. These things will also flow to other technologies like your battery. So far, we do not have any ALMM in battery, but we believe that eventually such approved list of battery manufacturer list will also come in, wherein people or companies will be asked to procure batteries from locally manufactured, so as to boost our local manufacturing, to boost so that the value addition remains within the country, and the most important thing is to reduce dependence on China or any other country, because all these wars over past 4 years has actually uh, laid it out clearly that we cannot be dependent on any country or geographically for any significant thing. If we want to move towards solar, the green way, if we want to implement battery technologies, which is the need of the hour, if we need defense, again for defense, because even India's most of the defense equipments also gets imported, so we need to develop these technologies indigenously. We need to invest in developing those technologies indigenously and boost the Indian economy and create capabilities domestically. And hence we are positive on the overall infra theme. The most important question, this is just I have listed down as to what is the kind of capex which is announced. This will also further be further re-rated. I've not updated it because there are more pipeline announced by the government as to that. Say for in transmission, government has announced that there will be additional 3 lakh crore or 3 trillion investment in the transmission space. This is just domestic. Plus, there will be other opportunities overseas because, as sir highlighted, that US is going for repowering its transmission infrastructure. Even Europe will be going for repowering, which means there will be a lot of export opportunities which will open up for our domestic companies. The most important question that you might all have is on the valuations, because the sectors which are doing well are also where the valuations are at its peak. I am not denying that valuations have turned expensive, but if you still see, we are closer. So historical levels actually do not justify the changes which has happened, because from 2008 to 2020 these sectors did not perform for the reasons that we discussed. It's only post 2020 that the investment started happening, the visibility came, and because there is visibility, the valuation started to run up. Why we continue to remain positive even when the sector is trading at +1 standard deviation? Because we see that, as I discussed, various different opportunities coming up in terms of, say, battery technology, investment in data centers, which will all result in more investments into the power continuing. So the entire capital goods domain should continue to trade expensive. Secondly, this is the only sector, I would say, one of the only sectors where there is a clear double-digit growth visibility. I'll come back in when I show the earnings slide, where you can see that this is one of the sector where you see double-digit growth. That is also the reason that the capital goods space as a whole has re-rated. And third most important thing, that these are the sectors, the stocks which are doing well, are not dependent on overseas for any significant imports. These are the companies which have focused on localization and indigenization. So the dependence on imports is less and hence relatively less impacted. I will not say completely non-impacted, because somewhere it's a global world. So in some or the other form, these companies will be related, but it is relatively less impacted compared to other companies or other sectors. Infra, again, this is a very peculiar, here infra, when I refer, it is more related to EPC companies which are engaged in the execution. Larger part of this would be execution of your road EPC companies, road construction companies. So we say that, see that it's trading closer to its average long-term PE. One of the key reason is also that the awarding activity has been lower in this sector, and hence the valuations. But incrementally, we have started seeing NHAI coming out with awards, and likewise should start resulting in some re-rating in this space. But this is more cyclical, and it's not a structural growth. Whenever we see order inflows coming in or peaking out, the sectors accordingly react, and one should kind of target this sector, need to be very, what do you say, quick to enter, quick to exit. It cannot be a structurally long only space. On the real estate front, as I was discussing with sir as well, so real estate has corrected for two major reasons. One, over last 1.5 to 2 years almost now, that the markets were not doing well. The perception is that the market money gets reinvested into the real estate. Secondly, your fear of AI, because that will result in job losses and hence the impact on the real estate. So far, we haven't seen significant impact on the real estate. Your overall volumes have remained flattish for the sector. Valuations have corrected significantly, but consolidation is playing out. Your players with good balance sheet and ability to expand are continuing to gain market share and continue to deliver good numbers. I believe, given that the sector is closer to negative 1 standard deviation, there is an opportunity in the near term to invest in this space. For the sector to move back to its +1 standard deviation valuation, it will take a longer time, because unless and until maybe 2 to 3 quarters, till the time people start believing that the space The listed players are continuing to deliver. There is premiumization happening, and there is no risk on the volume growth of the sector or demand in the sector despite of AI implementation. So it will still take some time for the sector to do well. Utilities, again, it's trading at plus one standard deviation, but again, I would say, given that we talked a lot about power, plus again, last entire year, FY26, we've seen power demand softening. It went to as low as 1%. In certain months, it was negative. We have started seeing revival in the power demand only this year. Last year, we know it was La Nina, so monsoons played a bigger role for the power demand to be softer. This year, again, we are back to 5% kind of levels. And incrementally, as we get into, as in we are into already into summers, we have started the numbers that are showing up. We have already seen pickup in the power demand, and plus a lot of electrification eventually should result into this 5 to 6% range to slightly move in the 6 to 7% range, which will also act as a re-rating trigger for the space, and hence utilities should continue to remain to continue to trade elevated. From other sector perspective, which form part of the infra theme, would be your logistics. Again, logistics, we haven't seen anything happening, but as in your overall, because of the global trade getting impacted because of war, your volumes in the space have been lower, and hence the valuations. While for cement, we are getting into the lean season, and because of the ample amount of capacities which is coming up, and that is one, but also because of the elections that is happening in across India, 3 geographies. As we enter into the lean season, these are the 2 major factors that the price increase which the sector tried to take has not been absorbed, and that will create pressure because clearly because of the war and crude prices, largely because of the crude prices increasing, the cost structures have increased for the sector, and hence we may see some pressure to sustain on the cement sector. Metals largely follow the global pricing, and we know how the metal prices are behaving, so likewise the sector. Yeah. So this is what I was showing. As I said, capital goods is one of the sectors which is showing strong double-digit growth. You can ignore the infra because in infra, people are still building in order inflows to come in, which when come in, as I said, the sector is at the lower valuations, can do well, but that is a hope story. If the orders do not come, then there is a risk. But other sectors, cement also, there could be some downside risk, because if the price increase does not get absorbed, then there will be downside risk in terms of the earnings. Rest of the sectors you can see, which form part of infra, capital goods stand out, healthcare stand out, your logistics is also standing out because of the domestic increase in consumption, and telecom, but telecom again is more to do with the one company turning from, as in the loss reduction in the space. My investment approach, as we all like to invest in growth, and we are seeing a lot of opportunities which we have discussed, like your data centers, semicon, solar, green hydrogen and ammonia. So far, not apparent in India. We have not seen major investments happening, but eventually this is also the new opportunities which can emerge. Your EV, power transmission, logistics, these are the spaces where we see significant investments happening, and our investment philosophy will also be centered to invest in high growth areas. Valuations may remain expensive as long as we are confident of growth to sustain. We do not see risk to that growth. Slightly elevated valuations may still be comfortable, but your visibility on growth and cash flows should be there. Matured businesses offer you some downside risk. The examples of matured businesses are like your power, utilities. So, because utility companies are growing, plus they also have stable cash flows because these businesses operate on take or pay arrangements. So your cash flows are stable and secured, and hence the valuation downside risk is limited. Your again ports business, we haven't seen material destruction to the overall global trade. The volumes which were growing at say 7% has come off a bit from other routes, but overall global trade still continues to remain decently healthy, and thus ports business does offer you the downside risk protection. Special situations is very what do you say, opportunistic, wherein we'll try to find certain where there is a significant value gap or opportunity getting created because of situations like a demerger getting announced or some change from negative to positive, as in your profits turning around. Or one example I can give with regards to say REITs getting classified into equity. These are opportunities, these are situations which gives you some opportunity to trade. Historically, this is just a pictorial representation how historically each sector has behaved, say capital goods, oil and gas, utilities, metals, reality. So given the theme, because we are investing across different sectors, it helps you to balance the risk and the periods where you may have say negative returns in certain spaces versus some sectors doing extremely well. Like currently we see capital goods, metals, utilities doing extremely well. Oil and gas, again, though the crude prices are elevated, but your post the initial increase in the stock prices, we are not seeing the sector doing that well because it is highly regulated, and there is always a risk of government intervening and reducing their overall profitability through windfall tax. So that is the reason that despite of crude remaining elevated at $100 plus, your oil and gas sector is not doing that great. The last is the BSE Infra Index, which we are following as our index. This is just to show how the sectoral changes have happened over the years. So as you can see, the utilities has taken up more space from 2020 to 25, now from 19.4 to about 30%, because that is where the investment is happening, and likewise it gets reflected in the index. Your logistics has come off. Your infra and capital goods have also come off, which is largely infra oriented. Your aviation has slightly increased because again we are seeing more investments happening onto the airports. So what I'm trying to showcase here is wherever there is investment, there is an increase in the index allocation, and likewise there is these are the opportunities to play because you are seeing growth. This is just our approach of investment. For me, when I talk about high growth, the first and foremost thing comes is that high growth should not be at the cost of your cash flows. Your balance sheet should be lean. The focus on cash flows should be there. Relative debt should be low. When I say relative, it is relative to the sectors that we are investing in. Say for instance, to give example, utilities as a space, because it's a project driven business and the cash flows are project backed, the debt levels may be slightly higher, but it's not that they are at risk, because once the project gets commissioned, it gets automatically serviced through the project cash flows. But for certain sectors, say for real estate, though we are not seeing significant high leverage levels, but historically that was one sector which used to have significant leverage. So we would not be invested where the leverage is high. We need companies, we invest in sectors which are focused on cash flows, which are focused on balance sheet discipline. So that is the first two are utmost important. Then corporate governance, the good quality management, disclosures, and cyclicality, where we are in the cycle matters. Like I said, infra is highly cyclical, capital goods is also cyclical, but because these are the sectors, as in capital goods as a sector, typically the investment phase itself are 10 to 15 long years, and hence the cycles don't end in 2 to 3 years. These prolong for that long period.